You've tried everything: visualizing, budgeting, journaling, praying, trying harder, pushing further, telling yourself to stay positive. And yet the numbers do not move. The provision does not shift. The wallet still speaks the language of fear, and the world mirrors it back like a perfect echo. You call it struggle, you call it delay, you call it a test of faith. But I'm here to tell you plainly, it is none of these things. It is disobedience, not rebellion, not failure, but disobedience to law, because the law of supply does not respond to effort. It responds to voice. And most people, even the spiritual ones, have never been taught how to speak like authority. They ask, they wish, they beg, they affirm, and then contradict it in the next breath. They speak lack lightly and call it realism. They mutter fear quietly and call it awareness. They make jokes about money and do not understand that heaven does not laugh with them. It listens. So let me strip it bare for you. There is one sentence that opens the gates. There is one command that initiates movement. It does not plead. It does not hope. It does not require energy, belief, or alignment to work. It requires only this, that you say it as law, that you speak it as one who has the right, that you do not dilute it with emotion, with logic, with performance, with apology. This sentence is not new. It has always been available, but until now, you have not spoken it as decree. Until now, you've spoken like a survivor, not a sovereign. Until now, you've used your mouth to process pain, not to issue instruction. And the law, perfect and unflinching, has obeyed your hesitation. But now, we shift. Now you remember what your mouth was built for. You remember that you were not sent here to describe reality. You were sent to transform it. And that power lives, not in your mood, not in your intention, but in your spoken decree. So hear this sentence and say it. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres, my immediate and endless supply, not later, not when the paycheck clears, not when you feel more spiritual. Now, I now draw from the abundance of the spheres, not maybe, not one day, not if the timing's right. Now, my immediate and endless supply, not delayed, not conditional, not partial, but immediate, endless. This sentence is not a mantra. It is not a suggestion. It is the structure. It is the switch. It is the lever of spiritual economy. Florence did not offer this phrase as poetry. She issued it as law. She knew exactly what she was saying when she wrote those words. Abundance of the spheres is not a metaphor. It is the invisible storehouse. It is the pre-material treasury of God. And the moment you speak with legal voice, draw from it, not wish upon it. You activate motion, not by effort, by speech. You may think you've said things like this before, but saying is not enough. You must command it. You must issue it like you have the divine right to do so, because you do. But rights unused are as powerless as rights unknown. You must speak like someone who has finally remembered that the system does not move for the desperate, it moves for the decisive. Say it again, out loud, slowly, without softening your tone. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. Again, I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. Say it until your voice stops trembling. Say it until your tone becomes quiet thunder. Say it until the part of you that once whispered lack now whispers alignment. This is not a prayer. This is not a meditation. This is a legal instrument. It overrides financial trauma. It bypasses cultural programming. It cuts through the spiritual noise of striving, and it does not need to be understood by your logic. It needs to be obeyed by your mouth. Understand, the law of supply is not emotional. It is not personal. It does not care whether you grew up poor, whether you're behind on bills, whether you feel guilty asking for more. The law listens only to one thing: command, and that command is measured by tone, by clarity, by rhythm, and by repetition. The more casual your speech, the more casual your results. The more diluted your word, the more diluted your harvest. So stop asking the world to interpret your intention. Start issuing instruction. When you say, I draw from the abundance, you are not just claiming your portion. You are nullifying the old contract, the one you signed unknowingly every time you said, I can't afford that. The one you reaffirmed every time you said, money goes faster than it comes. The one that kept you spiritually indebted to fear, even when your bank account looked full. The law does not break contracts because you're tired. It only breaks them when a higher law is spoken. And that higher law must come from your mouth, not from your mood, not from your coach, not from a guided meditation, from your own voice. This is the voice Florence trained. Not the voice of polite affirmation, but the voice of divine command. She did not teach you to hope. She taught you to govern. And now it is your turn. You must govern the frequency of your money. You must govern the language of your wallet. You must govern the atmosphere of every transaction. You must govern the unseen world by speaking what no one else can see yet, and doing it as if it is already so. That is spiritual obedience. That is divine authority. So again, I now draw from the abundance of the spheres, my immediate and endless supply. And again, until your mouth no longer remembers how to curse your provision, until your speech is no longer borrowed from poverty, until your decree becomes your signature everywhere you go, in everything you touch, in every moment you are tempted to speak fear. You do not need to feel ready, you need to speak law. You do not need to be perfect, you need to be precise. You do not need to perform worthiness. You need to speak as one who already belongs, because you do. Your word has always been the gate. Now open it. Say it, out loud. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres, my immediate and endless supply. Say it again, then comment it. Not for me, not for others. For the law, for the system, for the command to be complete. Say it 3 times below, and let the echo become the signature that shifts your economy forever. The mistake most people make is not that they speak lack. That's already been addressed. The real mistake, the one that keeps abundance delayed even after the right words are spoken, is this. They speak the sentence but not as law. They speak it as if the universe needs convincing. They repeat it like it's a wish, a possibility, a preferred outcome. And so the law, perfect in its accuracy, reads it as optional and responds accordingly. Let me be crystal clear. The law does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you announce. And the tone of that announcement is not cosmetic. It is jurisdictional. If you say the right sentence with the wrong tone, the law hears contradiction. If you whisper your command like a suggestion, the law waits for a clearer voice. If your body stiffens with doubt while your mouth speaks truth, the system delays, not out of cruelty, but because its instructions were incomplete. This is why people say, I tried that sentence and nothing changed. Of course nothing changed. You issued it like a theory. You delivered it like a performance. You rehearsed it like a line from someone else's movie. But you didn't own it. You didn't declare it as if the invisible had no other choice but to obey. You didn't claim it like you were born to govern what others only wish for. The law is not personal, but it is precise. It does not multiply uncertainty. It does not favor those who sound spiritual. It favors those who sound legal, those who speak with finality, those who do not ask the universe to agree with them, but declare to the universe, this is what I say, and I say it as law. So I will say it again. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. And this time, you do not speak it from memory. You speak it from throne. You do not say it because it's beautiful. You say it because it is your jurisdictional right. You do not let your voice wobble. You let it strike. Why? Because tone is the carrier of spiritual authority. It's not just about words, it's about how the system reads your frequency. If you say, I now draw from the abundance, but your tone says, I hope this works, you've issued mixed jurisdiction. You've handed the law both a command and a question, and the system is not obligated to sort your confusion. Florence never said to speak and then wonder. She never said to decree and then explain. She said, speak the word and then do not take it back. That is the structure. That is the framework. That is how the machinery of the invisible moves. Most people don't move it. They poke at it. They say the right thing for 2 minutes, then apologize with their energy for the rest of the day. They command with one breath and complain with the next. They issue truth at sunrise and override it by lunch. The law hears all of it, not just the scripted part. All of it. It hears the way you talk about the cost of groceries. It hears the way you speak about your job. It hears what you say when the invoice comes in. It hears what you say before you even open your bank app. And it obeys. So if you are not training your mouth to become one seamless decree, then you are not training the law to recognize your jurisdiction. Because make no mistake, the law must be trained, not in theory, in frequency. And your frequency is not what you feel. It is what you say on repeat, in public and in private, when you're hopeful and when you're irritated, when you're confident and when you're panicked. The true test of your decree is not how you say it when you're feeling aligned. It's how you say it when your reality still dares to contradict it. That's where tone becomes truth. Say the sentence again. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. This time, say it louder than your hesitation. This time, say it slower than your doubt. This time, say it like it's the only law in the room, and every lesser voice must bow. And if your body tenses when you say it, that's fine. Speak anyway. If your bank account screams in protest, that's fine. Speak anyway. If your inner voice mocks you for saying something so unrealistic, that's fine. Speak anyway. Why? Because the law does not respond to sarcasm. It does not respond to panic. It does not respond to cultural norms. It only responds to command. And command has no volume, but it does have tone. So you can whisper the sentence and shake the heavens, or you can scream it and move nothing. It's not performance, it's posture. And your posture must say, this is not up for debate. You must become someone who no longer tolerates contradiction in your speech, who no longer excuses smallness, who no longer makes jokes about lack to make others comfortable, who no longer explains their financial decisions to people who live in fear. You are not speaking for them. You are not speaking for your feelings. You are speaking for the law. And the law only knows how to do one thing: fulfill. But fulfillment is based on structure, and structure must be established by repetition. So yes, we say it again. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. Say it until your nervous system stops flinching. Say it until the words no longer feel like a stretch, but a standard. Say it until even your silence agrees. That is how the voice of doubt is replaced, not by fighting it, but by outnumbering it. You do not need to believe harder. You need to speak longer, louder, truer, because the spiritual system you live inside is not ruled by intention. It is ruled by precedent. And precedent is established every time you open your mouth. So let the new precedent begin. Now, with you, with this sentence. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. And let no lesser phrase ever leave your mouth again. You've said the sentence, perhaps even felt its weight settle into your chest. Perhaps you've whispered it like a vow or declared it like a war cry. That's good, but that's not enough. Because a command, no matter how true, means nothing if it's not reinforced, if it's not sealed, if it's not anchored into your daily language. This is where most people lose momentum. They speak once with force and then fall silent. They issue a decree in the morning, and by lunch, they're muttering about bills again. They shout, I draw from abundance, and then wince at the cost of groceries. They think the spiritual realm will honor the one time they got it right, while ignoring the 100 times they contradicted themselves afterward. But the law does not run on memory. It runs on pattern. And if the pattern of your speech is still laced with fear, sarcasm, hesitation, or realism, dressed up as wisdom, then your decree, no matter how sacred, will be buried under a pile of opposing instructions. The system doesn't filter out the noise. It responds to all of it. Every phrase, every sigh, every offhand remark about money, every apology disguised as modesty, every nervous laugh about not being there yet. You think you're just expressing yourself. The law thinks you're issuing orders. This is why anchoring matters. Because repetition isn't spiritual vanity. It's jurisdictional reinforcement. It's how you retrain the subconscious to obey a new structure. Florence understood this perfectly. She didn't say to speak the truth once and hope for the best. She said to speak until the atmosphere changed, until the invisible conformed, until your inner voice had no choice but to agree. She said, "By your words you are justified. By your words you are condemned." And most people condemn themselves casually, automatically, daily, without ever realizing they're doing it. So here's what anchoring looks like. You don't wait for the right moment to say the sentence. You make every moment the right moment. You speak it when you open your wallet, when you tip the waiter, when you send the invoice, when you make the purchase, when you touch money in any form, physical or digital. You speak, not out of superstition, but out of spiritual habit. Because in the kingdom of law, what is not reinforced is overwritten. Say the sentence at the gas station. Say it while tapping your card. Say it when your rent is due. Say it when you get paid. Say it when you invest. Say it before you check your account balance. Not because those actions are sacred, but because they are opportunities. Every financial interaction is a doorway. You can either walk through it with fear or with command. In whichever tone you choose, the system listens and multiplies. Florence never waited for a spiritual high to speak truth. She spoke it especially when it looked like nothing was working. That's when the command has the most jurisdiction, when it is spoken into contradiction. Because the law does not need confirmation from your environment to obey. It needs clarity from your mouth. And clarity looks like consistency. If you want your subconscious to obey the new order, you must give it no room for argument. You must outnumber every fearful phrase you've ever spoken. You must bury every limitation under a mountain of holy instruction. You must override the language of lack the same way it was installed, through repetition, through rhythm, through unrelenting verbal structure. This is not law of attraction. This is law of alignment. You are not here to magnetize money by feeling good. You are here to establish atmosphere by speaking law. And law, once spoken with authority, builds rhythm. And rhythm builds infrastructure. And infrastructure builds permanence. So ask yourself this: has your command become infrastructure? Or is it still just a nice sentence you remember when you're feeling spiritually motivated? Because if you're not anchoring it, you're canceling it. Every time you joke about being broke, you cancel it. Every time you hesitate to speak because others might not understand, you cancel it. Every time you shift your tone to make others comfortable with your lack, you cancel it. The law does not honor emotional politics. It honors structural consistency. That's why the system doesn't move just because you meant well. It moves because you stayed loyal to the decree. So be loyal. Say it again. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. Say it when it feels strong. Say it when it feels stupid. Say it when your logic argues. Say it when the facts mock you. Say it when your mouth wants to say something smaller. Say it especially then. Because your mouth is either writing contracts or enforcing them. And if you want your money to move differently, then your language must move differently first. No exceptions, no dilution, no return to casual speech. You were not given a voice to narrate your fear. You were given a voice to establish dominion. So stop watching your money like a nervous employee. Start governing it like a spiritual ruler. Speak the sentence. Reinforce the sentence. Anchor the sentence until it speaks, even when you are silent, because that is how the subconscious learns. It does not change by inspiration, it changes by instruction. And instruction must be repeated until no other voice remains. Florence called it spiritual discipline, not spiritual preference, not spiritual vibes. Discipline. That's what this is, not a practice, a protocol. And your protocol is this: I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. Say it again, then say it again. Not for me, not for your mood, for the law. Because the law is always listening, and it's time it learned a new command. You've been told for years that money responds to energy, that wealth is attracted by how you feel, that the better your mood, the higher your vibration, and the more likely your desires will find you. And so you've spent days trying to stay positive, trying to feel aligned, trying to chase away the doubt, and force yourself into some imagined spiritual posture of worthiness. You've exhausted yourself trying to be worthy of what already belongs to you. But here's what Florence knew, and what most never learn. The law is not moved by your emotion. It is activated by your structure. Emotion may influence how you speak, but it is not the criteria by which the invisible realm distributes supply. The spiritual system doesn't wait until you feel confident. It moves the moment you speak like one who governs. And governance is not a mood. It's a structure, it's legal posture, it's jurisdictional clarity. The people who wait until they feel ready never enter their provision, because readiness is not a feeling. It is a frequency established by decree. The moment you issue the law, you are ready. Not before, not after, now. This is where most people delay themselves. They think the words don't work because they still feel afraid. But the fear is not the enemy. The silence is. The hesitation is. The diluted tone is. Because it's not about how you feel when you speak the command. It's about how often you speak it without needing to feel anything at all. That's spiritual maturity. That's divine alignment. That's what moves the law. Florence never taught emotional hype. She never told you to perform belief. She told you to speak the word. Because the word carries power even when your mind doesn't fully understand it, even when your feelings haven't caught up. She said, your word is your wand, not your joy, not your mood, not your hope, your word. Why? Because the system is wired to obey structure, and structure must be spoken. Let me make this plain. If you speak your command with perfect clarity while still trembling inside, the law still moves. But if you wait for your emotions to align first, you've already surrendered jurisdiction. You've handed power to your emotional state, and the law was never instructed to obey your feelings. It was instructed to obey your word. So what does structure look like in speech? It looks like specificity, like timing, like rhythm, like repetition, like decree without apology. It sounds like this. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. Not I hope, not if it's meant to be, not please God help me, but I draw. This is the language of ownership, the language of law, the language that makes heaven stand still and reorient itself around your declaration. It's not aggressive, it's exact. It's not emotional, it's electrical. It's not dramatic, it's decisive. That's why you must train your mouth to speak like a gatekeeper, not like a guest. You are not waiting for permission to be provided for. You are not waiting for the economy to shift, or the energy to rise, or the universe to align. You are giving instruction. You are structuring atmosphere. And once the structure is in place, supply has no choice but to fill it. But the moment you soften the structure by doubting, explaining, adjusting to others' comfort. You collapse the field. You lose the frame. And when the frame is gone, the law has no container to pour into. You must hold the frame, even when the facts don't, even when the numbers contradict it, even when you feel like a liar for saying something so bold. You hold it. Because the law is not looking for feelings, it is scanning for form. And the form must be stable. So here's the decision you must make. Do you want results, Or do you want relief? Because speaking from emotion will give you relief, but speaking from structure will give you results. You can vent or you can decree. You can express or you can establish. You can seek comfort or you can command supply. But you cannot do both at once. The law does not read your inner world. It reads your command center, your mouth. And if your mouth does not speak with legal consistency, your spiritual case remains unfiled. So file it. Now, say the sentence, I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. This is not an affirmation, it's a structure. It is the scaffolding upon which your provision will arrive. It is the invisible form your reality must conform to. Say it. Then keep saying it. Say it until the room grows still, until silence agrees with you instead of doubting you. Say it until your emotions stop protesting and begin to align. Say it until your tone no longer wavers, but slices through contradiction like law. Every time you speak the command, you chip away at the old framework, the one built by fear, delay, survival, and polite limitations. With each decree, a beam weakens. With each repetition, a lie loses its grip. And one day, without warning, that old mental structure collapses. Not because you destroyed it with force, but because you replaced it with form. And when it does collapse, when the scaffolding of lack finally breaks, there will be no gap, no emptiness, only flow. Supply will flood in, not because you earned it, not because you felt good enough to receive it, but because the law was finally given something lawful to obey. The difference between those who speak spiritual law and those who live inside it is not intention. It is not passion. It is not how much they desire the result or how sincere they sound when they repeat the words. The difference is frequency, repetition, pattern. Not mental belief, but legal rhythm. Those who command their provision do not visit the sentence occasionally. They don't dust it off once a week during a crisis. They don't speak it once and expect the heavens to rearrange themselves around a single moment of spiritual inspiration. No, those who walk in the structure of the word live by it hourly. They legislate with their language, not seasonally, but systemically. And the law, perfect in its impersonality, responds only to this kind of repetition. Not because the sentence becomes louder, but because it becomes law through consistency. Florence never told you to speak a phrase once and move on. She never said the law would obey a casual murmur. She taught us that the spoken word is the governing principle of experience, and that the only way to establish a new principle is to make it your norm. And norm is not a feeling. It is a pattern of behavior, especially when no one is watching. If you say, I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply, but you say it in the morning and contradict it all afternoon, your decree holds no legal weight. The law cannot enforce a word you yourself do not obey. You may speak the truth, but if you speak it irregularly, while spending your day reinforcing fear, doubt, sarcasm, or worldly logic, you have not spoken it as law. You have spoken it as preference, and preference is not jurisdiction. Law responds to dominance, and dominance is not volume, it is stability. If the sentence is to work for you, it must live in you. It must be the first thing your mouth knows how to say when fear arises. It must be the rhythm that undergirds every financial interaction. It must be the atmosphere your inner dialogue walks in. If it is not your internal reflex, it is not yet your external reality. There is no shortcut to this. There is only practice. And practice in spiritual law is not trial, it is installation. You are installing a new rhythm into the field, and that rhythm must be so stable that no contradiction survives long enough to hijack it. This is not about pretending you don't feel afraid, it's about refusing to let fear remain unchallenged. When the old narrative rises, and it will, you do not analyze it, you replace it, instantly, verbally, legally, with the sentence, again and again and again. And if that sounds tedious to you, then ask yourself whether you prefer struggle. Because the law does not reward convenience, it rewards structure. Your subconscious does not change by osmosis, it changes by ritual. And ritual, in the spiritual economy, is repetition with authority. Florence called it training the mind to speak truth at all times. But she did not mean truth as emotional alignment. She meant truth as code, spoken, specific, unwavering, audible. If you are not training your mouth to say this sentence in every moment that matters, then you are allowing the old code to run unopposed. You are not being neutral. You are being legally passive. And passivity does not create flow. It delays it. So here is what I tell you plainly. If you do not build daily legal rhythm around your new decree, then you have not yet stepped into command. You are still in the realm of hope. And hope, though poetic, holds no jurisdiction. The system around you cannot adjust to a wish. It must adjust to law. That is why the decree must enter your day as habit, not as reaction. It must be pre-installed before trouble arises. You speak it when you rise, before you touch your phone. You speak it before opening your wallet. You speak it while sending an invoice, paying a bill, receiving income, giving a gift. You speak it when doubt whispers lack, when emails trigger panic, when others around you begin to speak as if fear were normal. You override all of it, not once, but always. Not when it's easy, but precisely when it's not. You say, I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. You do not say it softly. You do not say it uncertainly. You say it with the voice of one who is restoring law to a field that has gone unmanaged. This sentence is not comfort, it is command. It is the plumb line of your new reality, and your day must begin to orbit around it. And now I will give you the practice, because words without structure fade. Here is the new rhythm. Each morning, before you speak to anyone else, speak the sentence aloud 3 times, not for ritual's sake, but to frame the day. Before every financial interaction, give, receive, transfer, calculate. Say the sentence again. It reclaims atmosphere. It cancels unconscious permission for fear to enter the space. At night, speak the sentence again, not as review, but as dominion. You are declaring spiritual continuity over your rest, your subconscious, your dreams. 3 points in the day. 3 activations of legal rhythm. And if you want reinforcement, add 1 more. Write the sentence 7 times by hand each day. No keyboard, no autopilot. Write it slowly, consciously, as if each letter were chiseling away the old contract. Because it is. And yes, speak it in public, in comment, in ritual, in echo. Not to perform, but to confirm. You are not speaking for attention. You are stamping your jurisdiction. So write it now below. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. You are not participating in a video. You are recording a decree. The algorithm doesn't care, but the law does, and heaven keeps record. What you speak now, you walk in later. What you type now, you reinforce in the field. What you write now, you seal in the structure. So do not delay. Do not shrink. Do not wait to feel worthy. Worthiness is irrelevant. The only qualification is speech, and your word, once spoken in rhythm, becomes your new environment. You have spoken the sentence. That is good. Now speak it daily. That is dominion. You have done well to speak the decree daily, to write it by hand with intention, and to plant it in visible space as a record. These actions are not mere rituals. They are legal behaviors. They carry weight because they signal to the law that the speaker understands structure. But action alone is not completion. The decree must be sealed, and once sealed, it must not be withdrawn. What you speak with authority must remain standing in the atmosphere, without reversal, contradiction, or doubt. Most people never reach this stage. They speak correctly, even powerfully, but then dilute their own command with casual language, emotional commentary, or reactive storytelling. And once the field receives mixed instruction, it delays, not from resistance, but from confusion. The law is perfect, but it is also literal. It does not read desire. It does not interpret moods. It responds only to structure. And structure is either reinforced or dismantled by speech. When Florence said, "Your word is your wand," she did not mean your affirmations, your intentions, or your emotional clarity. She meant your verbal instruction, the language you use consistently, especially when no one is listening. That is why what you say after the decree matters as much as the decree itself. If you speak lack an hour later, if you complain under your breath, if you joke about money being tight, the law does not excuse it as venting. It records it as a new order. This is not cruelty. It is exactness. The invisible world operates by spiritual precision. It mirrors the last governing word. Not the most poetic, not the most powerful, simply the most recent. That is why sealing the decree is essential. Because until it is sealed, it remains subject to override. Until it is protected by silence, it is vulnerable to interference. Until the speaker decides that nothing more needs to be said, the decree continues to compete with every stray sentence that contradicts it. Do not confuse sealing with repetition. The word does not require endless speaking to take effect. It requires that once spoken, it is not undone. That is what spiritual maturity looks like. Not how often you repeat the decree, but how fiercely you protect it. This protection is not loud. It is quiet, legal, internal. It means no longer sharing the story of your struggle, no longer opening your mouth in agreement with scarcity, no longer adapting your language to fit what others expect, no longer offering soft disclaimers after bold statements. The law needs none of that. It only needs clarity, and clarity, once issued, must stand unchallenged. You may feel at times that you must restate the decree. That is fine if done in alignment, but never restate it from panic. Never restate it as if it had faded or failed. Never speak it as if you are unsure whether it was heard. The law always hears. What it cannot act on is contradiction. What it cannot fulfill is confusion. What it cannot obey is instability. Your role is not to enforce the law through volume. It is to install the law through consistency. So now I ask you plainly, will you leave the decree standing? Will you let it govern the space without your interference? Will you stop searching for evidence and begin living as if the structure is already law? Because that is what it means to seal a word, to leave it unchallenged, to leave it unsupported by argument, to stop checking for permission, to stop explaining yourself to people who do not understand spiritual law. This is not cruelty, it is order. Your field no longer belongs to everyone. Your decree is no longer public debate. It is sealed law. That sealing does not make you rigid. It makes you lawful. It does not close your heart. It opens your realm. It creates a frame through which provision can pour without obstruction. The people who struggle to receive are not broken. They are simply undisciplined in their speech. They open the gate and then close it again by the afternoon. They build the wall and then tear it down with a stray phrase. They speak power in the morning and frustration by dinner. The law did not fail them. They failed to keep the field clear. So now you keep it, not with pressure, with certainty. You do not need to feel it. You do not need to perform it. You simply need to protect it. The same way a contract is protected once signed. You don't revisit it daily. You don't wonder if it's still valid. You don't show it to everyone you meet. You enforce it, quietly, internally, without drama. The decree you spoke. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply is not a chant. It is a law. And now that you have spoken it, the system has registered it. The field is rearranging to meet it. And the only thing that can stop it now is contradiction. Not from others, from you. Do not contradict it. Do not belittle it. Do not retreat from it when pressure rises. Stand behind it. Let it do its work. You may still be tempted to speak the old language. You may still feel like defending yourself when others question your faith. But that is not your work anymore. Your only work now is to let what you have spoken remain. You are not building the structure again. You are holding the structure you already built. That is what law is, not invention, but enforcement. So hold it, without devotion, without commentary, without doubt. Let the law do what it was designed to do. Speak it once more, not to activate it, but to close it. I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. Then say no more, because the law has already begun, and you have nothing left to explain.